brand new starting point.
Yeah, for sure.
Really good. So in February, one of Esther's friends recommended that next time I come over from England to do 2 events in that period of time. And I really like that idea, so I'm here.
Yeah.
And on Monday afternoon in Chicago, I had no idea how I'd get to New York, which was planned. I didn't want
no
an
roads,
idea.
no flights. Just a big void between the 2 cities. We can see why that would be a problem.
I wanted to allow myself to feel a certain way after the event. And you said something very specific, and that was to find that vibrational place of appreciation.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, more appreciation than I actually feel now. How is this possible? And then I found that...
Well, appreciation can be pointed in different directions at different facets, and it feels different every time you point at something else.
Yeah.
All things that you appreciate, you don't appreciate with the same velocity.
Yeah. So I decided to take the train, 21 hours on the train down to here, for the pure delight in seeing so much landscape and different places, and they let you get off at different stops. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it again, but it was so much fun.
Clarity is of great value.
So much. So this is really relevant to what's happened today, and I'm so grateful. I nodded off for about the 10th time. And when I woke up, all I could hear was an announcement. I think it was Croton Harmon. And something inside me said, get off. Now I had my laptop, a book, my drink, a charger, and I thought, I'd just grab everything. So I grabbed everything, got my case, got off, not knowing where I was. I knew I was close to New York, let's be straight on that. But then I thought, wow, this is exciting, because I thought I was going to go and experience New York City for the first time, Big Apple, all this. Then I ended up in probably the most beautiful place that I've ever seen in my life, which was Piermont Pier and Piermont. And my question to you today is, I completely trust that everything's always working out for me. I'm at that place. But how do you notice clearly when that inspired thought or nudge, that gentle sort of nudge from our inner being, comes, and when to follow it? How can we more clearly define that?
Well, you figure it out through life experiences. The words that we've used before we heard what you had to say, which is, as you say, taking this conversation further forward, our words were always these. When the impulse is so strong that nothing is in the way of it, it's just like, I'm getting off this train, and I'm getting off this train now. It's like a singular, certain thought that is not being compromised by any other considerations that could talk you out of it. Well, it's a rare one of you who has more than 3 or 4 of those kinds of feelings in your entire lifetime, even though you could have several of them every single day. Esther remembers one of them is when she realized she was going to run off with Jerry. It was undeniable. There was nothing. It didn't matter how many, and there were many who said, not a good idea. Didn't matter. The clarity within you. Well, what leads up to that clarity is the life experiences that you have lived. For example, you had an impulse. You didn't know how you were going to make the trip, and we played with you because there were lots of options, but you said, I didn't know, and you dramatized that a little more. I didn't know. In fact, you deliberately didn't let yourself know. And certainly, you know the difference between a train or an Uber or a ride with a friend or renting
sorry to interrupt, I was hoping the team would have said you can come with us, because the events were so close to each other.
Well, they all went different places.
I know.
They scattered all over the country and then reconvened again. As you live some life experiences, like you didn't know how you were going to get there, and you chose the train. Now, we know for sure you made it sound all right. We know that there was landscape to see and all of that. And we know there were some pleasant encounters with people and not and so forth. But as you connect the dots between that manifestation of that train ride and how the impulse about it felt, now you know, well, that equals about that. And when you said, after all of it, I wouldn't do it again, that tells you even more about the initial feeling than you were able maybe or willing to speak to us initially. But now you have the whole experience. You know how you felt. Are you following this? And you know what happened. Now you have that life experience that goes like this. When I feel like that, don't do it again. When I feel like that, don't do it again. On the other hand, there are experiences that you have that you get this hit on it. That's what Esther calls it. You get a hit on it and it just feels undeniable, meaning it doesn't feel like something that you even could deny even if you wanted to. It's that strong. The momentum is that strong. And so you go with it. And as you connect those dots, you know that. And that's just how you know. Someone will call you and it won't feel like going. And then you'll say, oh, I'm a giver. I'll do it for them. I'm a peacemaker. I'll do it for them, whatever. So you go, and it's just not that much fun. And afterward, you say things like, well, I saw that coming. After the fact, you say, I saw that coming. I saw that coming that was great, and I saw that coming. That's how you do it, because it's always accurate. How you feel about something and how it's going to turn out are always accurate. Now, why is that? Got to be really clear about this with you, because we don't want any misunderstanding about this. It isn't that something's meant to be. It's that given the marbles I'm holding and given the marbles that they're holding, this is going to be what it's going to be. And your inner being is giving you advance notice on that ahead of time. And your enthusiasm level is a clue, as is your dread level. But how often do you dread doing something and you do it anyway? Now, a lot of times you'll sit here, even in the hot seat to us, and say, well, I dreaded doing it, but it turned out great. Well, you can turn things around. We're not saying don't ever do anything that you don't want to do. But what we are saying is decide what you want and line up with that. Decide what you want and line up with that, because you are creating your own reality. You create the trip. You create it all.
It did turn out really, really well, because, as I said, probably the most beautiful place I've ever cast my eyes upon. So I was grateful for that impulse,
but
wherever it came from.
But there must be path of least resistance that have gotten you there without paying such a price. And that's really the point that we're making. In other words, there are easier ways to do everything. We're not wanting to give the impression that we think that anybody should do anything different than they do. You ask the question, and we want you to know that you discern through your life experience. That's what we mean when we say words don't teach. You are learning what vibrational stance you have that yields you this experience. Because the experience that is yielded to you always matches the vibrational stance that you have. Most of you are quite a mixed bag. You want this and you don't want this, and you want this and you don't want this. So most experiences are kind of like that too. But the more you purify or clarify what you do want by getting in a good feeling place and then imagining and getting a good feeling place and anticipating, then what happens is it turns out as good or gooder than you thought it would. That's the answer to your question.